Hello there. Morning, evening, night, afternoon, whatever it is where you are. This is obviously Whiskey for Beginners. Obviously, even if you didn't see the title card, a thoroughly amateur production. My throat got a frog in it, and trying to talk and not cough messed me up. I was trying to say projection or prediction when I meant production. Yes, it's a thoroughly amateur prediction. If I made one, it would be. This is a whiskey review. Larceny Barrel Proof. Let me just read the label. Larceny Kentucky. Larceny Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. That's what it says up here. Barrel Proof. This is batch C922. The C, third letter of the alphabet, so the third batch of the year. 9 is the month, September. 22 is the last two digits of the year. So this was the third batch of Larceny Barrel Proof in 2022, and it come out in September. It is 126.6 proof, or if you think in terms of alcohol by volume, it's 63.3%. And this is the third video that this bottle has appeared in. I do my reviews on the third glass, but I opened it in a video. Then I made another video with this because that's when it came up in the rotation. And now the third glass out of this bottle is the third video I've done with this bottle. Before we do that, I actually thought to look up information. The mash bill is 68% corn, 20% wheat, and 12% sprouted barley. So this is a wheated bourbon. The traditional bourbon, what I call a rye bourbon, has corn, rye, and barley. Corn being the dominant grain, rye providing flavor, barley providing maybe a little flavor, but mostly there because it helps the fermentation. This, on the other hand, has corn as a dominant grain. It has to, by law, in order to be bourbon. But then the flavor grain, the secondary grain, is wheat, not rye. And then the barley. I didn't find an official statement of the mash bill, but every place I looked, that's the mash bill they gave. Now on the Larceny Barrel Proof site, and it comes from the Heaven Hill Distillery, on the Larceny Barrel Proof site, it says that it is anywhere from 6 to 8 years old. Okay. Bardstown, Kentucky. The only distillery nowadays I can remember where it is Maker's Mark, which is in Loretta, Kentucky. There's one that's in Versailles, or I know how to say it, Versailles, and I can't remember which one it is. There's a whole flock of distilleries in and around Bardstown. That city rightly has the name Bourbon Capital of the World. So, while I'm pouring, what is barrel proof? I think I have a video in my Whiskey Basics playlist that talks about proof, barrel proof, that kind of thing. I can't remember for sure for some reason. Usually I can. But barrel proof is the proof at which the whiskey comes out of the barrel. The maximum proof you can put whiskey into the barrel at is 125. Some places will put it in right at that maximum entry proof, some lower. If I remember right, Maker's Mark puts it in at 110 proof. But in the kind of climate that most parts of the United States have, including Kentucky, the water evaporates faster than the alcohol. So say it goes in at 100 proof. I don't know anybody who does it that way, but that means the water and alcohol levels are equal. But over time, this is alcohol, this is water. Over time, the water evaporates faster than the alcohol until when they dump it, the alcohol level is higher than the water. And so barrel entry proof was 50-50, 100 proof. Barrel proof is, say, 130, 127.2, what have you. And I like barrel proof. I like single barrels, by the way, but this, it's a batch, so I suspect where it says barrel proof, it's really the batch proof, where they take the barrels, dump them, do not temper it down, and the final proof is of the batch. I suspect that's what it is, because otherwise they wouldn't have a batch number, it would be a barrel number. As to the whiskey, ooh, that smells good. I'm having to be a little careful. My right nostril's always more sensitive to alcohol than the left, and tonight it seems to be more so than usual. There's that warm note that I get from some whiskeys, and I've never been able to characterize it other than that. You know me, I will lecture you on not saying it's smooth. Tell me specifics. But there are times when you can't pick something out specifically. You just get an impression, and I get that here. And I may have to close off that right nostril. And now I'm not getting anything because I need both nostrils to smell with. I was hoping to do better for you on the nose. There's something earthy in there, which I don't know whether it's the way they use the wheat or the wheat they use, but sometimes wheat gives me eucalyptus. And sometimes it gives me earthiness, and I'm getting earthiness here from, I presume, the wheat. I don't know. They don't define it, but that may be what Aaron and Josh of Stuff and Whiskey mean when they talk about a wheat or funk. I'm able to get in there a little more now that alcohol is evaporating away somewhat. I'm getting something. I'm going to try to pick it apart some more. But it's like a mixture of butter, butterscotch, and caramel. It seems like it's all three together. It's almost like somebody's cooking up a batch of candy and I'm sniffing on that. It's a really sweet, buttery, candy-ish nose I'm getting. And so far I'm not able to get anything more specific. So we have alcohol, of course. What did I say it was? 126.6. So I'm getting alcohol, I'm getting the warm note, I'm getting the earthiness, I'm getting this mingled candy-ish thing that seems to be butter, butterscotch, and caramel. And that's all I'm getting. And I read somewhere a few years back when I was more or less still new to whiskey that the more complex a whiskey is, the harder time you're likely to have getting individual specific notes. And in my own personal experience, that is true. Of course, it can also be true with a very simple whiskey. You might nose it and nose it and nose it and only be able to say it smells like whiskey. And so on the one end you've got whiskey which gives you almost nothing. My brain has gone absolutely blank. It doesn't give you any kind of discrete individual notes because they're just not there. And on the other end you've got whiskey which has so much and it's so interlocked that picking it apart is tough. And in between you have the bulk of the whiskey where with just a little attention you can get what it has to give you. And there's nothing wrong with those in the big mid-range, nothing wrong with those whiskeys at all as whiskeys of that sort. On an individual basis, yeah, you'll find some that you don't like, some you do, some you love, some that are just awful no matter who drinks it. Well, I'm not getting anything new, at least nothing that I can specify, so let me check the mouthfeel. Proof. Here's the only place where I use smooth and the only place where I want you to use smooth. This mouthfeel is smooth. Excuse me. Mouthfeel is an inelegant word, but there's not a better one, and I can't make up a better one. It is the feel of the whiskey in your mouth, the texture of the whiskey. Sometimes it'll be buttery, sometimes creamy, sometimes oily, sometimes watery, sometimes thin, sometimes thick, sometimes smooth, as though you're rubbing your tongue across a smooth surface. Taste, by definition, is not smooth. It's taste. How many times have you bit into an absolutely perfect pulled pork sandwich and thought, that's smooth? Taste doesn't do smooth. Now, I'm not a food critic. I'm not even a whiskey critic, really. But I don't do videos reviewing food. Yeah, I'm going to set the camera up while I'm at Blake's Lotaburger eating my food, right? I ain't quite that stupid. I'm still not getting anything more on the nose. Sometimes as you sip and nose, you'll get more on both than you would if you never went back to the nose. This is my first glass of the night, and lately my tongue has been a little more sensitive to alcohol than it normally is. The only thing I got from that sip as far as flavor was cinnamon. Now, I'm not a moron. I haven't done that cinnamon spoon thing where you try to swallow a whole spoonful of cinnamon. People's dumb. Because cinnamon is part of sweet things like cinnamon rolls or apple pie, people think it's sweet, and it's not. Cinnamon is a spice. And you try to do that with a mouthful of any spice, especially one that's as dry as cinnamon. It'll suck the moisture out. So I haven't done that, but that was what come to mind as I tasted this. It just a big blast of cinnamon. I thought about having another glass first before I did this video, but I wanted to just knock it out of the way. That time I got the cinnamon, but I also got some chocolatey oak. Now, sometimes oak is just oak for me, but usually when there's oak, it morphs into chocolate. This, I believe, was milk chocolate. I wasn't able to be certain. It might have been dark. But it was definitely there. It was kind of like a foundation under the lighter taste of the cinnamon. Still not getting anything more on the nose. And it may be that on the next glass I get more. Maybe that on the next glass I get less. It may be that 20 glasses down the road, or however many, when it gets down to here, I'll be able to pick out 43 different notes. Whiskey tasting is so almighty subjective. From one day to the next, your palate will be different. From 1 hour to the next, your palate can be different. What you eat can affect your palate. Your mood can affect your palate. There's so many factors. And of course, whiskey doesn't oxidize, which is oxygen joining with other molecules, but it does interact with the air. It loses things, it gains things. And so each glass of whiskey might be different. The only time I've found that noticeably so is Lafroig 10, which is a peated Scotch from Islay, one of the Inner Hebrides. Every single glass of, I've had 2 bottles, I believe, of Lafroig, and on both of them, every single glass, it was always Lafroig, but it was just a bit different. It's almost like each glass was from a different single barrel, and I know that wasn't the case. But whiskey tasting is so subjective. And before I take another sip, I don't want to take all day with it, but I want to make this point. What I'm telling you is what I'm getting on this glass, of this bottle, of this batch, of this bourbon now. A day ago it might have been different. Tomorrow it might be different. And it's my opinion. It's what I'm getting. There are some people out there just absolutely dingbatish who will get mad at you if you don't get from a given whiskey exactly what they get. They'll tell you you're wrong and all that sort of thing. Well, it's because you don't get that. Joe Blow does. You don't. Big deal. You're not any more wrong than he is, and he's not any more right than you are. Okay, I'm finally beginning to get something a little different on the nose. The alcohol is slacking off. The warmness is still there, but I'm beginning to get something kind of honey, kind of floral. Mostly floral, I think. Although there is kind of the honey type of sweetness in it. The alcohol is evaporating off, which is what the nose is. The alcohol evaporates and brings with it the chemicals that make up the notes we get. But it didn't burn me that much or so much that time. I got the cinnamon still. I didn't get the chocolate that time, but I did get brown sugar. And the brown sugar got darker and darker and darker as I kept on moving the sip around in my mouth. And the fact that I'm getting different things on each sip tells me this is a complex whiskey. And some palates just aren't equipped to grab 48 different notes. I can sometimes get a lot of notes from something, but not all at the same time, or not all off the same sip. So I'll get this on this sip, that on the other sip, something else on the third, and it all adds up to the palate of the whiskey. Excuse me. Coke. Coca-Cola. Did you know Coke is a Southern deal? I won't go into it. I'm already over 22 minutes. I won't go into Dr. Pepper neither. But I sure want to. I got a real scorch at the top of my throat that time. On the palate, though, of that sip, it was pretty much the same as the last one, except this time I was definitely getting honey. And hang on. Okay, I got a notice on my screen here. Hopefully it'll go away. It doesn't seem to impede the recording any. If it does, I'll just have to do another review. Let me now give you the finish. Okay, that time I'm getting oak. And that's the prominent note on the finish here. There's some spiciness. There's also the alcohol, of course. But I'm mostly getting oak. Now, it's not an oppressive amount. And it's fading out right now. It's on the rim of my tongue. And this is the woody oak, not the chocolate oak. Got a hug all the way down to my stomach, too. I swallow the finished sip quicker than I do the palate sips. That way I get more of the finish. But I can feel the numbness in my mouth from this alcohol. Okay. I have given you the nose, the palate, the mouthfeel, the finish, and some information about this stuff. How would I rate it? It is at the very least a 6, and it's been a while since I posted a review. There's the handwritten version of my Hick rating scale. 1 is on the bottom, 8 is on the top, and I have these hick terms for them. It is at least a 6, which is fine, at least. And I am still getting that oak. It's concentrated on the front of my tongue now. I can almost feel the graininess of it. It's not offensive. It's not tannic. It's just definitely oak. And it's finally beginning to slightly go into a dark chocolate. It's at least fine. I'm going to give this a 7. 7 is right fine. That is 4.375 stars. It's 87.5 out of 100 or 8.75 out of 10, depending on how you do that. Now this is one batch. Another batch might be different. It might be better, it might not be as good. It might have different notes to it. It might be more oaky. It might be sweeter. But this is good stuff. And let me give you just a tad bit more information. I didn't give you this at the beginning. This was $69.99 at Kelly Liquors here in Albuquerque at the Mountain Run Shopping Center. I got it on the 11th of June. So 3 or 4 weeks ago, about a month ago, and this is only the third glass. That tells you, well, it tells you that I have a rotation that I go through. Okay, I'm going to set that aside because I'm over 27 minutes. Reviews always take me longer. And I'm going to say, here's how.